Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Education Hub. We discuss various topics covered under the NTA UGC NET syllabus for Paper 2 education. Our videos are helpful for not just students of education but for various other competitive exams like UPSC, TET and CTET. In this video, we will discuss and learn about Jainism, which is a part of Indian schools of philosophical thought. In our earlier videos, we have discussed about Sankhya philosophy, Yoga philosophy, and Buddhism. And along with those, we have also discussed about the classification of the Astic and Nastic schools of Indian philosophy. If you have missed those videos, I have put their links in the description box for you. Please check them out and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And please like and comment if you find our videos helpful. Before we can learn in details the philosophy and epistemology of Jainism as a school of philosophical thought, let us first get a brief and quick introduction of Jainism. This introduction will help us to build a solid base upon which our learning for Jainism will develop further as we move along with the video. So Jainism is an ancient religion that is rooted in the philosophy that teaches the way to liberation and a path to spiritual purity and enlightenment through disciplined non-violence to all living creatures. Jainism is a Gnostic school, which means that Jainism as a school of philosophical thought does not consider the teaching of the Vedas as supreme. We also refer to the Gnostic schools as the heterodox schools. The main purpose of Jainism is to attain Kaivalya, which is liberation. So you can see that in Jainism, liberation is referred to as Kaivalya. But in our videos on Sankhya philosophy and Buddhism, we have learned that Sankhya terms liberation as Mukti and Buddhism calls liberation as Moksha or Nirvana. The word Jain is derived from Jina or Jana, which means the conqueror, or someone who has conquered the inner enemies. Therefore, Jina or Jana is a person who develops so much self-control that he or she is able to renounce all the bad thoughts and actions from within himself or herself and accepts only goodness. Now let us learn about the origin of Jainism as a religion. We will learn about the origin of Jainism as a religion because, unlike Buddhism, Jainism did not start as a school of philosophical thoughts and immediately become a religion. Jainism came into prominence in 6th century BC when Lord Mahavir propagated the religion of Jainism. But Jainism believes that there were 24 great teachers who are referred to as Aryahant or Jina, and the last of them was Lord Vardhaman Mahavir. This implies that there were 23 Aryahants before Lord Mahavir or Mahavir Jain as we popularly call him, which means that Jainism had existed as a school of philosophical thought since very ancient times, way before Lord Mahavir or Mahavir Jain propagated Jainism and made it a popular religion. So these 24 teachers were called Tirthankaras. And basically, Tirthankaras are people who had attained all knowledge while living and they preached this attained knowledge to the common people. The first Tirthankara is believed to be Rishabhnath. Let us discuss about the cause of origin of Jainism as a religion. That is, why did Jainism become a popular religion? The first reason is that the Vedic religion had become highly ritualistic. So with time, the Vedic culture started to become a more elaborate and needed lots of ritualistic materials and sacrifices. As a result, the cost of practicing Vedic religion became high and commoners couldn't afford practicing the Vedic religion so elaborately. and Jainism became a simple and more convenient choice of religion among the common people. Secondly, the Varna system divided the society into four classes based on birth, where the two higher classes enjoy several privileges. The two higher classes were the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. And as we know, there's no caste system under Jainism, so people started to shift to Jainism to avoid the cruelty of the Varna system. Then we can see Jainism as the reaction of the Kshatriyas against the domination of the Brahmins. We can also attribute the sudden origin of Jainism as a popular religion to the spread of new agricultural economy in northeastern India due to the use of iron tools. And finally, Jainism was taught in Pali and Prakrit. Thus, Jainism was more accessible to the common man as compared to the Vedic religion, which was taught in Sanskrit. So, these are the primary reasons based on which Jainism gained popularity as a religious culture in the Indian subcontinent. Let us now move on and learn about Mahavir Jain, the last and the most popular of all the Tirthankars in Jainism. So, Mahavir Jain was born at Kundagram near Vaishali, and by birth his real name was Vardhaman. So at the age of 30, Vardhaman renounced his home and became a wandering ascetic. He also observed self-mortification. Self-mortification means practicing self-control through self-denial and self-discipline. So we can basically consider fasting as one of the types of self-mortification. After 13 years of penance, he attained the highest spiritual knowledge called Kaivalya at the age of 42 years. So basically, Kaivalya is the ultimate knowledge according to Jainism, which helps one to conquer all misery and happiness and become liberated. So Jainism gives a symbol to every Tirthankar, and the symbol associated with Mahavir was that of a lion. Mahavir Jain preached his teachings for 30 years and died at Pava near Rajgir at the age of 72. We shall now discuss more about Jainism as a school of philosophical thought, and in order to do so, we will first learn about the metaphysics of Jainism. So, Jainism is a dualistic reality. According to Jainism, the universe is composed of two kinds of substances, the Jiv, that is the living being, and the Ajiv, that is the non living being. And because Jainism accepts both the Jiv and the Ajiv, it is considered that Jainism believes in the dualistic reality. Mahavir Jain did not believe in God's existence. According to him, the universe is a product of the natural phenomenon of cause and effect. He believed in karma and transmigration of the soul. The body dies out, but the soul does not. So it means that the soul within us keeps migrating from one body to another, and the soul never dies. And Mahavir Jain also preached that one will be punished and rewarded as per one's karma. Now let us discuss about the path of liberation as per Jainism, which is also referred to as the Three Ratna. So according to Jainism, nirvana or liberation is obtained through three jewels. The first is right faith, which is referred to as Samyak Darshan. The second is right knowledge, which is referred to as Samyak Gyan. And third is right conduct, which is referred to as Samyak Charitra. Among the detailed rules of conduct prescribed for Jainas for their actual observance, the prominent place has been given to the observance of the 12 vratas or the vows. We will discuss about the 12 vratas or the vows in full details now. Out of the 12 vratas, the five main principles or vratas are known as the Anuvratas, and they are Ahimsa, which refers to non-violence, that is to be free from injury. The second Anuvrata is Satya, which is truth, that is only to speak the truth. Then we have Asteya, which means non-stealing, that is, do not steal. In the fourth Anuvrata, we have aparigraha, which means no acquiring property, in order to detach from material things, people, and places. And the final and the fifth Anuvrata is brahmacharya, which means abstinence, in order to be free from worldly attachments. Out of the remaining seven Sila Vratas or supplementary vows, the first three are called as Guna Vratas. The first of the Guna Vrata is Digvrata, which means limited activity. It refers to taking a lifelong vow to limit one's worldly activity to fixed points in all directions. Then under the Guna Vratas, we have the Desa Vrata, which means limited use of food items, which refers to taking a vow to limit one's food consumption, and that too from a very limited area. Then finally we have the Anartha Danda Vrata, which is the avoidance of purposeless sins, which refers to taking a vow not to commit purposeless sins. The final four vows are called Siksha Vratas and disciplinary vows. The first Siksha Vrata is Samayaka, which means meditating for 48 minutes for every day. It refers to taking a vow to devote particular time every day to contemplation of the self for spiritual advancement. The second Siksha Vrata is Paushada, which means limited ascetics life vow, which refers to taking a vow to fast 1 4 days of the month, namely the 2/8 and the 2/14 days of the lunar fortnight. Then we have the Upabhog Paribhog Parinam, which means regularly living like a monk. It refers to taking a vow every day to limit one's enjoyment of consumable and non-consumable things in life. Then finally we have the Atiti Sambhibhag, which is also referred to as the Dan Vrata. It means indulging in charity. It refers to taking a vow to take one's food only after feeding the ascetics, or in absence of the ascetics, one has to feed the householders, the pious householders, before consuming their food. So these are the vratas based on which the Jainas are supposed to attain a very prosperous and pious life, from where they will finally attain their liberation. Now let us discuss about the epistemology of Jainism as a school of philosophical thought. This will help us to understand how and in what manner Jainism as a school of philosophical thoughts treats the concept of knowledge and the attainment of knowledge. So in Jainism, Gyan, which is knowledge, is said to be of five kinds, and they are divided into two categories. So Jainism basically accepts knowledge in five forms, and these five forms are further divided into two groups or categories. The first category or the first group of Gyan or knowledge is Aporaksh, which refers to the immediate knowledge. This knowledge has no medium. They are extraordinary knowledge. And the Aporaksh has three subparts, which is Avadhi Gyan, that is clairvoyance, which refers to the direct knowledge of objects. Then we have Manaparya Gyan, that is telepathy, which refers to the direct knowledge of thoughts. And then we have Keval Gyan, that is omniscience, which refers to the direct, ultimate, and absolute form of knowledge. And Keval Gyan can be obtained only by the liberated souls. That is, the Arihants, the Jinas, or the Tirthankaras are the only people who are able to attain the Keval Gyan. And Keval Gyan is the form of knowledge which results in the form of liberation into these peoples who are the Tirthankaras. Then we have the second category of knowledge, which is referred to as the Poraksh Gyan, which is the immediate form of knowledge. This knowledge is related to samasya or doubt. So under Poraksha, we have two forms of sub-knowledge, which is Mati Gyan, that is sensory knowledge, and it is the perpetual or the perceptual and inferential knowledge. And then we have the Shruta Gyan, which is the knowledge of signs, symbols, or knowledge associated to words. So Shruta Gyan is also referred to as the verbal testimony or Shabd. Jainism believes in three types of source of knowledge. So the first source of knowledge that Jainism believes is the Anekantvad, which is the pluralism of truth. So Anekantvad states that there are lots of points of views and there is no absolute truth. So Anekantvad actually refers to the fact that truth varies from person to person. Then we have Saidvad, which refers to probability. So Saidvad directly means the truth which is derived from the causation of probabilities. Then comes the third and the most important part in the form of epistemology in Jainism, and that is Saptabhangi Nyaya, which means the sevenfold judgment. So Jainism believes that there are 7 points of probabilities, and these 7 points of probabilities we will discuss further in absolute and full details. Now we will look at the detailed descriptions of the Saptabhanginaya. The first is Syad Asti, which means is. So it refers to a thing as existing in the context of itself or from the perception of a seer. So seer is the person who is looking at the thing. Then we have Syad Nasti, which means is not. So it says that a thing does not exist in the context of other forms, other substance, or another place. Then we have Syad Asti Nasti, which is and is not. It means a thing may or may not exist at the same time. Then we have Syad Avyakta, that is inexpressible. It refers to a thing being inexpressible, which means you cannot speak about it because it is indescribable, indeterminate, or you do not know how to express it. Then comes the point of Syad Asti Avyakta, that is and is inexpressible. So a thing exists, but it cannot be expressed. Then we have Syad Nasti Avyakta, which means is not and is inexpressible. It refers to the thing not being there. That means the thing does not exist and also it cannot be expressed. And finally, under the Saptabhangi Nyaya, we have Syad Asti Nasti Avyakta, which means is not, and is inexpressible. So a thing is there and also not there at the same time, and it cannot be expressed. That is, it is inexpressible. So these are the 7 points under the Saptabhangi Nyaya. We need to remember the sequence of these 7 points because they are often asked to us in the in various exams, and they are important in context of the multiple choice based questions we get in various examinations. Then we have the 4 stages of life. So Jainism basically describes the entire human life into 4 stages, and the first stage is known as the Brahmacharya ashram, that is the student life. So in this stage, a person is supposed to maintain a very ascetic life and should devote himself in order to attain as much knowledge as possible. So this is the time for a person to lead the life of a student, and the person should be very meticulous and should focus on catering and inculcating good habits in his life. Then we have the Grihast ashram, that is the time of the life in a person where the person is bound to lead a family life. So this is when the person takes the responsibility of his entire family and is responsible for bearing offsprings and helping his offsprings to become functional members of the society. So the person is responsible during the Grihastha ashram to take care of his family as nicely as possible. Then we have the Vanapasth ashram, that is associated with the social life and the family life. So during this time, the person has to start a phase when he, during his presence, starts to hand over the responsibilities of his family to that of the next generation. He teaches the next generation about the various responsibilities and starts to plan his retirement into the next phase of the life, that is the sannyas ashram. So the sannyas ashram is associated with the monk life, when the person is supposed to leave behind all his belongings, is to sever all his ties with his family, and finally lead the life of a monk and devote himself to the pursuance of liberation. Now let us talk in detail about the sects or the various sub schools which come under the Jainism philosophy. So Jain order has been divided into two major sects, that is Digambara and the Svetambara. So the Digambara are monks of this sect who believe in complete nudity. Male monks do not wear clothes, while female monks wear unstitched plain saris. They follow all the five vows, that is, the vow of Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Aparigraha, and Brahmacharya. And Digambara, as a school of thought under the major school of thought of Jainism, believe that women cannot achieve liberation. So the Digambara sect actually gives the full power of the achievement of liberation to the men, and the men are the people who are referred to as the monks, and that is why they remain nude, while it is okay for the females to accompany the males, but they cannot under any circumstances achieve liberation. This is what the Digambara schools believe. Bhadrabahu was an exponent of this sect. So Bhadrabahu was the person who popularized this sect, and he was a very popular member of the Digambara group of people. Then the second school under the Jainism school of philosophy is the school of Svetambara, and this is a less radical form of the Jainism group. Just like the Digambaras, they do not believe in hurting people, and they try to follow a very peaceful lifestyle, but their abstinence in life and their form of practicing Jainism is not as severe or not as extreme as the Digambaras. So the monks in the Svetambara clan, they do not stay nude, but they prefer to wear white clothes. They always wear white clothes. And other than Brahmacharya, the people in the Svetambara clan, they follow all the other vows. Except for Brahmacharya, they follow all the other vows in Jainism. And this is a clan which gives equal status to the women, and it believed that women can also achieve liberation. And Stulabhadra was an exponent of this sect. Stulabhadra was a very important and prominent figure of the Svetambaras. So this is all we had to talk about regarding Jainism. Please like our video if you find this content helpful, and please subscribe to the channel in order to show your support. Thank you so much for watching.